Jim will be here shortly, but I guess we can start. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for requests for council action. For the Finance Committee, we have 2234 fund transfer request, 2235 budget amendments, 2236 water connection, 4615 Abbeville, 2237 2021 carry forward ordinance, 2238 MCRC Senior Activities Coordinator Job Description Amendment, 2239 MCRC Marketing Job Description and Pay Rate Amendment, 2240 authorized payouts of 2021 unused vacation time, 2241 authorized easements West Smith Reconstruction, 2242 bids for job number 1105 South Court Water Tower painting and repairs, 2243 stormwater operation and maintenance agreement for Touchstone Properties, 2244 stormwater operations and maintenance agreement for Chick-fil-A, 2245 amend ordinance 12717 pavilion rental fees, 2247 Supreme Court of Ohio 2022 tech grant application Unicourt, 2248 right-of-way purchase for West Smith Reconstruction, 2249 authorized lawsuit for Retrievex Inc. in Access Information Management. And for the Water and Utilities Committee, we have 2246 Medina TV funding and operations options. First item we have is 2234 fund transfer request for the MCRC operating fund. Keith?
Thank you. The joint operating agreement that we have for the rec center with the school requires that both we and the school put $100,000 a year into a capital fund, and this is to make that annual transfer.
Thank you. And the school has on their agenda also, I'd imagine?
That's right.
I don't know when during the year they do it. It's just during, it doesn't say it, it says during the year. So as long as they do it. At one point they were behind and they had to catch up. I don't know if you remember that, because they hadn't done it for a few years.
Yeah, they were doing 133,000 a year. Did they catch up?
They're caught up. They're all caught up and we're balanced, so.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on that?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, Jim's not here. Motion carries. 2235 budget amendments. We have the law department. We have 22005. Keith, is this you?
Yeah, we have shortfalls and public buildings. They've had a lot of things they've had to cover with all the ARPA funds that we've had to pay our share of stuff. So they're short and we need appropriation. And then law's over for some POs that they put through. So we need to increase that to cover those.
Any questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then we got 2022-006 MCRC VANEP donation. Keith?
This is a donation, but we have to appropriate the money in order to spend it.
Okay, questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2236 is a water connection at 4615 Abbeville Road. Mr. Picoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. So beginning of February, gentlemen purchasing this property that we're speaking of, 4615 Abbeville Road, poached the service office outside the city limits, York Township, wanting to tie into the city water line. There's not potable water there existing. Well, it's not enough to adequate to provide for the residents, and there's a barn there. So we provided the gentleman two different sizes, 3/4 inch tap and 1 inch. Sounds like he wants a 1 inch tap. And he's petitioned the council for approval, understanding it'll be 45% more because he's outside the city limits.
Any questions?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have 2237, the 2021 carry forward ordinance. Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the annual carry forward appropriation. I think everybody's pretty familiar with what we do here. And you can see the attachment. If you have any questions, I'll take those.
Yeah, the grand total of the carry forward, I think if you look at the first thing from 2022, 16,198. Now, we discussed this, Keith and I had a little discussion prior to council. about this carry forward. If you remember, we usually talk about this during the budget meetings, and there's a lot of savings involved from many different departments. And I don't think, I think we do give this due consideration during that period of time. And I think the carry forward, as far as the years gone by, has worked well, and the department heads do save the money for specific purposes that we've seen for special projects. So I think it's working still.
Yes, I do too.
I don't know what other opinions are on council about it, but we've been doing this, and this is an aggregation of the carry forward. That's not only from the previous year, but it includes carry forwards from multiple years that are saved by various department heads for various purposes. One of the largest, of course, for the service department is the vehicles, because the vehicles cost so much money. It's better to save for them over time than rather than have a one lump sum expense in 1 year. Anybody have any questions or comments on this?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2238, MCRC Senior Activities Coordinator Job Description Amendment. Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a title change and minor job description change for our Senior Activities Coordinator job description. What we're looking to do is modify the job description, eliminating a lot of the senior-specific language, not eliminating the senior coordinator job, but opening us up to getting assistance for various other programs that might serve other demographics at the rec center. We're currently operating without a program specialist, so we're hoping that this job description will enable us to reach an individual that might be able to provide assistance for our summer programming. If you recall, last year we did our Party in the Park series, and we did a majority of that planning in-house, and it was rather difficult for us to do shorthanded. So we're hoping by making this change on the job description that we can get some more part-time assistance. The pay grade for this would be RC 27, which is $14.71 to $16.11 an hour. This is on the civil service agenda for this coming Wednesday. Lorene has reviewed it, but it is pending review from the law director.
And what is the current pay scale right now for the current Senior Activities Coordinator? What is that pay scale?
That's what I had mentioned, the RC 27, which is $14.71 an hour to $16.
Okay, so that's not changing?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to double check that. Anybody have any questions?
Move to approve with the pending law director's approval.
Second with pending approval.
No, you also asked for the emergency clause, and I assume that that's because you want to use this position to do some planning and coordination for, as you mentioned, the summer events, which would need to occur now.
Yes, that is correct.
So my motion also includes emergency clause.
And I will amend my second to include the emergency clause.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2239 MCRC Marketing Job Description and Pay Rate Amendment. Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This job description was reviewed. We currently have a vacancy in our marketing coordinator position. It was filled for the last several years by an individual who's decided to move on. So we reviewed the job description and come to find out it was a split job description between a travel aide and a marketing coordinator. So we no longer have travel aides. The main changes in the job description are who the individual reports to and to align with new trends in marketing, including digital media and social media. The current pay scale is a RC 23, which is $12.61 an hour to $14.01. We are requesting that be modified to an RC 31, which is $16.81 an hour to $18.21 an hour. And the reason for that is one of the essential functions of this individual is to make our program brochure that we do monthly now instead of quarterly. And you have to use Adobe Pro or a like program that does take some experience, and we're hoping we can get somebody with experience by modifying the pay scale. We did request the emergency clause on this one because the position is vacant, and we're currently, for the month of April, going to try subcontracting out the design. We're hopeful that we can get that filled soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a question. Was the current job description have a requirement to use the same Adobe programming for their position? And I guess as a question for the pay rate, just because there's nobody out there that wants the job, I mean, it's kind of a large increase. And I was just wondering, because you mentioned the main change was just who you report to.
There's also the requirement for, to help us with social media. The current program that we use is InDesign, which again has a pretty substantial learning curve. We are requesting to increase the pay because it hasn't been changed since the facility was open. The employees of the rec center also never get cost of living increases. And our entire RC code needs to be reevaluated, but we're starting right now with fixing the biggest holes that we have at the facility, and we feel that the wage adjustment is appropriate for the skills that are required compared to our existing staff and clerical staff that we have.
And it still remains part-time because it's...
That is correct.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second includes the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2240, authorized payouts of the 2021 unused vacation time. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. The code requires that in order to get, that vacation time is capped every year, and in order to get paid out for what's over the cap, you have to have used a minimum of 120 hours during the year. There's 3 people who are over the cap and didn't use the 120 hours. There's various reasons for that. As you can see, a couple of them had some short staffing issues that they had to cover. They really weren't able to take that time. So we're asking to be authorized to pay these.
Any questions?
Move to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2241, authorized easements, West Smith Reconstruction. Patrick?
Thank you. Council might remember last October, I believe it is, we passed an ordinance regarding our West Smith reconstruction and the number of easements we'd have to get. This was
Is your mic on?
accepting. There we go. Last October, council passed an ordinance authorizing us to pursue easements necessary and a right-of-way necessary for the West Smith Road reconstruction. This is a number of them have been signed. I think there's 6 in this request at 5 different properties. We're requesting that we accept these easements. We are also requesting emergency clause. Reason for this is these folks have signed and are ready to complete the deal. And we do have some hard deadlines with ODOT regarding clearing the right-of-way. And third, as I mentioned, this was already before council last October.
Any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second includes the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22042, bids for job number 1115 South Court Water Tower painting and repairs. Mr. Bacoli, is this you, or is this Patrick?
Want to, Pat? We've been waiting a long time to have this project come to advertising and bid. It's for job 1105. It's the South Court Tower painting and repairs project. The estimate for construction, as you can see, is $339,700. We have field inspections, advertising, and then printing. Total project is $355,500. We're hopeful to have that done this fall, by this fall.
And this is the exterior.
Correct. We did the interior dry. And the repairs with the fill pipe, if you remember the stand pipe, that's been, I think, Patrick, 3 years, 1 on 3 years.
I thought it was 2, but it's,
2.
yeah.
So that's the exterior of the tower.
Now, if you recall, Mark Holzar was big on this, painting like a sign of Medina or something on it, and or Ward 3 council representative or something, I don't know.
I don't know that
I don't know that that was, I think it was the cost. I think when we talked about that, and it's not that was a bad idea. A lot of communities do that, but I think we decided not to simply based on the cost. And I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't insignificant. Do you recall that, Nino?
So it was more the maintenance of the same if it starts chipping and are you going to keep that? But it was costly and then what were you going to put there on, what was the actual print that was going to be on the tower?
I don't know. We were still flipping a coin, Mark and I.
Right.
Mr.
I don't
Klein?
recall the exact cost though of that at the time.
No, I it was a while back. Thanks.
Mayor?
Just historically, the residents were actually the ones that picked the color of the tank, so it didn't stand out so much. They wanted kind of the sky blue, so as they looked up at the sky, I mean, you know the tank's there, but it doesn't stand out as much as if it was green or purple or something else. I just remember those discussions from years ago.
That's right.
Patrick?
And also, I just want to point out, this also includes some repairs. It's not just painting. There's the exterior railing on the top of the tank and the painter's structure, stuff like that. There's some, probably about $20,000 or $25,000 of this is for repairs.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 22043, Stormwater Operations and Maintenance Agreement for Touchstone Properties. Patrick?
Thank you. This is something we're going to start to see more frequently, and this is a result of an EPA guideline. And what it is, every new project includes a detention structure, either a basin or a buried structure. The EPA requires us to enter into an agreement with the owners of that structure, which basically mandates that they maintain these, they keep records, there's annual inspections, that sort of thing. There's no cost to the city. It will require us some effort to record keeping and inspection and stuff like that.
Any questions?
Patrick, which property is this for? What
This is-
company is it touched on?
This is for the Fetchco's crushing yard
okay.
off of Progress and Liberty.
Move to
Thank
approve.
you. Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2244, Stormwater Operations and Maintenance Agreement for Chick-fil-A. Patrick?
Same thing, this one's for Chick-fil-A.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2245, amend ordinance 12717, pavilion rental fees. Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to modify our pavilion rental times from 4 hours per reservation to 3 hours. And the reason for this is to provide a greater opportunity for more residents and individuals to reserve pavilions. What we're trying to migrate towards is utilizing the Rec Center software to facilitate online bookings so that you can book it from your mobile device or your computer in 3 predetermined time blocks, so that at Fred Greenwood Park, for example, it's rented on average from around 60 times throughout the summer. And we have to deny a good handful of residents because the time block that people pick happens to be 12 to 4, and the splash pad turns on at 12. So if you were to reserve it in the evening hours, you would get it from 4:30 until 8:30, which is oftentimes a little bit problematic. So by having predetermined time blocks, we can allow those people that want to have it the ability to do a double reservation or just do a single reservation for a 3-hour time block. Moving it to online will also it'll have a better customer service standpoint. They'll be able to do it at any time, and our staff can administratively approve it during the workday. We can also keep track of things better in a calendar and communicate with our staff that are in multiple locations by having access to the program to pull up the reservation schedule for the week or month. Online will also enable us to do administrative bookings for our large events like the Invitational Soccer Tournament or the softball tournament. We can put those dates in ahead of time so that they're blocked out for the whole time period for the organizations, and just enable us to better serve the community and streamline the process. Thank you.
Just a quick question on the doubling up your 3-hour reservation to a 6-hour. Is it the same cost or is there an increased cost? How do you create fairness of somebody else who wants to use it?
You can't book them both at the same time. So it's just very similar to the way state parks do it. You reserve one site, you put it in your cart, you have to go back to the process, book it for the second time, and then you can pay at
Is
the
it,
end.
you could book it the same day though?
Correct.
So odds are nobody's going to jump in the middle there probably, I guess.
Right. It's really no different than we generally start getting calls this time of year, and people are their routine. You know, they book it for their family reunion, Memorial Park, or they book it for the 4th of July. And the quicker it's online, we allow people to reserve within the calendar year. So January 1st, you can reserve for the remainder of the year. But reducing the time blocks from 4 hours to 3 hours is beneficial because that enables us to start our reservation window at 10 and get 3 rentals in during the day at Fred Greenwood.
Have you found that people historically only want 3 hours, or is it just to have more people, or do people actually use it the 4 hours that is currently available?
See, I don't really have that data, but when we do reservations at the rec center, it's 2-hour time blocks, and those are birthday parties, which include swimming. And we've never had a complaint yet with the 2-hour time block. So I don't see it being a problem for the average park picnic.
Well, I was just wondering if people ask the question, let's say, saying, we want it longer because it's outdoors, or if it's just that we just set it up for 4 hours thinking that that was the need at the time, that people wanted 4 hours. I mean, you picked 3, but you just mentioned 2, so the question would be, well, do people okay with 2 hours, or that's too short for some event like this outside? I mean, I guess I don't know the answer to that question.
2 hours would be pretty short if you're trying to use a charcoal grill and take advantage of all the park activities. We felt that 3 was appropriate because there are occasions where we can get 3 bookings in at Fred Greenwood Park, but the variable is we ask people what time they want, and that creates a challenge if it's, in the middle of the day for other people trying to use the same facility. Just to put it in perspective, we rent about 150 pavilions in a given season to residents and non-residents and nonprofits.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2247, Supreme Court of Ohio 2022 Tech Grant Application, Muni Court. Cindy?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're just asking the council to approve the Muni Court to go ahead and apply for the Ohio Supreme Court 2022 Tech Grant. We'd like to use that money, if we do receive it, for e-filing, which would cost about $21,000 and would be added on to our current case management system.
Is the grant for 21,000, or how much is the grant for?
Well, the grant is what the Supreme Court will allow. It's based on your area and the need of the area. So we only had one project in the loop for this time that applied for this specifics for this grant, and we thought e-filing would be, because it's a huge chunk, 21,000 to add on the case management system would be a good start for there.
Questions?
So the court is going to e-filing?
We're trying. I mean, we're going to go to texting and e-filing.
Mr. Huber likes that.
Sorry, Mr. Huber. You don't have to use it if you don't want to.
You have to get a new phone.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2248, right-of-way purchase for West Smith Reconstruction. Patrick?
Thank you. This one is similar to the one previously with its easements on West Smith. This one is different in that this is a right-of-way purchase So we'll be asking council to accept a contract for sale for totaling $300.
And the emergency clause?
Same reasons before, the property owner has agreed and signed the contract, and we do have the hard deadline from ODOT, and this has been before council last October.
Move to approve with emergency clause?
Second, includes the emergency clause?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Huber's late edition, 2249, authorize a lawsuit for RetrieveX Inc. and Access Information Management.
John, if you want to table this, you can. I don't
We
care.
talked about it.
We entered into a contract in 2005 with Gateway for storage of law department records. I think building department entered into a contract shortly thereafter. Finance department, I don't know how they did it because I don't find a contract, but they've been storing their records there. And I don't know what the rate is. I don't know what the arrangement is because there's no contract with finance. The bottom line is that it worked pretty well because Gateway was over on Windfall Road. If we needed to get records for whatever reason, we could go over, get them quickly. I know we, in our department, use that sometimes to pull up old criminal cases because of new criminal cases. We need to look at what happened before. And then Gateway sold out to RetrieveX and Access, and they moved our files down to Columbus without any real word to us other than they were doing it. And what's happened since then is we can't, especially since COVID, get on the phone to talk to anybody. Any communication has been through email, and frequently we don't get any communication back at all. I wrote to them and terminated this contract for law department and requested what information there is to figure out what we owe them so that we can go get our files and get control of these files. I didn't get any word back from anybody for a long period of time. And finally, we started not too long ago to get some communication by email, but nobody to call. And so there needs to be some negotiation as to what we owe for the storage and how we're going to get our files returned and what the cost of returning those files will be. So Matt Lanier, my assistant, been back and forth on how to deal with this, basically not being able to get anything done for the last 6 months. And we had a meeting last Thursday, decided to ask council for authority to file suit, request of the Common Pleas Court a declaratory judgment so we can figure out who owes what and how we're going to wrap this contract up with an attorney representing them so that we have somebody we can actually talk to. And that's, I assume finance wants to do this too. I know building department does. We'd like to get our files back from Columbus. The fact that we have our files down in Columbus is absurd. And so we'd like to essentially straighten this out if possible.
Once you get your files back, where are you going to put them?
Nino's
Your
gonna
house.
build us a building. You guys are gonna pay for it.
No. I think they might be just stored in Nino's office or maybe your office for a while, but
My office is fine. It won't be any different. We're gonna put them in Keith's office.
It's very organized in there.
how many files are we talking about? What would you guess?
I know for law department, we've got at least 714 files. I'm not sure how many for building, I think. And I don't know what finance has. We never know what finance has.
That's a file box, right? That's your typical 2-foot or 18-inch by 12-inch or 14-inch box. Okay.
Yikes.
Because we toured it with Judge Werner and Joe Salzgeber a couple months ago, and we toured the Brecksville facility, and we have like 954 boxes.
When you say that it's the same owners,
access information.
do they communicate with you?
It did take me a while, but I did finally get somebody, and I had the manager, the branch manager of Brecksville. He contacted me, we got a tour, and all four of us went over there.
Could you call him for Mr. Huber?
Yeah,
I
maybe-
definitely will, yeah.
Maybe Mr. Huber's having a little difficult time. Maybe you got to get a tour.
It's that phone.
It's a little sugar.
The branch manager, or the manager in Columbus is not the same person as Brecksville. It seems to be a different operation.
I'm sure it is, but I don't know. We used Gateway too, and I don't know why ours went to Brecksville and yours didn't go to Brecksville. I would assume that would have made more sense. Exactly.
So you don't have any problem accessing your files when you need them to get them back to the court?
It's all done remotely. They have to request it, and then the files are sent to us. But we wanted to go see where the files were, how they were stored, how many files that we had over there. And it did take us about 3 months to finally get a tour, but I kept picking at them.
Is the court looking at changing at all, or no?
What we wanted to do was kind of go through those old files and start scanning them in and putting them in the case management system and kind of get rid of those files. I'm very old. You're talking, 2000, 1999, 1998 files that is just wasting.
That's not that old.
I was going to say.
Well, most of them are civil files, so we don't need to have those files on. That's just money holding files that we rarely ever access.
I thought Nancy scanned them all.
No, that was only like a year and a half.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that was only a year and a half.
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you do pursue legal action against them and try to change this, isn't the contract that authorizes the storage and payment for the storage of the records going to be a key piece of information that you will need?
It will.
And it is lost currently.
Well, we've got the law department contract, we've got the building department contract. We couldn't find where there was a contract with finance department, but I would assume it's probably the same contract as law departments because this arrangement occurred back in 2005.
And what would, any impact would it have if we're suing them from one department, but the court's still using it over there? Don't you think they would be kind of, well, why we're going to keep doing it for the court? Do you think it would cause an issue?
No, I don't think it causes an issue. It's a separate contract. If they're able to work it out in Brecksville, frankly, if our files were in Brecksville, it would be a little more sensible. Our files moved down to Columbus with no advance warning to us at all, except that Gateway sold out and our files got moved. And we were just simply told that, and this has been going on for 2 years now, and frankly, the suit is for declaratory action. We're asking the common pleas judge to look at this contract, tell us where the parties stand in relation to one another, and let's wind this up. So it's.
Now, don't we have to approve some type of an appropriation for the filing of the complaint because it's going to cost money to file it?
I don't think so. I think I have enough money in my, a couple of my accounts to cover the filing fee. And once we have defense counsel assigned, I'm not charging anything to the city for my time on this, so I don't think there will be. If there is, John, I'll be coming to you.
I know, I'm just trying to get ahead of it. That's all. Any questions?
Mr. President? Okay, two things. One for Greg. Is there any way we can scan these in and have electronic copies of them so we don't need to go through this anymore?
Well, we've got a records retention requirement. We frequently have a lot of requests for these documents. We simply handle the paper. I don't have anybody in my department, because in my department you're looking at 4 part-time lawyers, 1 full-time secretary who has her hands completely full, and 1 part-time secretary at this point. So I don't have anybody to do that.
But legally, there's nothing legally stopping us from doing that, correct?
Assuming you've got somebody to do it and you've got the computer technology set up to handle it, I don't think there's any legal impediment.
Okay, maybe that's something we want to investigate so we don't run into this problem anymore. Something to think about down the road. We'll let you have your fun in the legal system with them. And then Keith, how are you, because you were finance director in 2005, how did you get?
We were storing stuff at Gateway before I was here. And I think we had a contract with Gateway that predates my being here. I don't think we ever approved a contract with Access, because I think we were just with Gateway, it became Access, and it just continued on. We store contracts that are current in the vendor files, and I have a feeling that this one, because it was stored under Gateway, it didn't get carried along to Access. It was viewed as Gateway, and it's, okay, they're not current, we're not using them anymore. And it may actually be there in a box with our contracts that are no longer current, but we don't have the contract, because, yeah, Greg asked about that for our contract. We went looking for it. We didn't have it in the vendor file for Access, because we have nothing in the vendor file for Access. It just became Access.
Okay, so you're saying it could be in a file box in Columbus?
It could be, or frankly, it may be old enough, it may have been destroyed, because it would have been a Gateway contract that we didn't think was current, because we are not
Different
current
name
using
change,
Gateway,
okay.
because of the name change. So it may have been past the years, and we may have just sent it to records.
Don't you write checks? Doesn't your department write checks?
Sure.
Wouldn't you have checks saying that we paid X to Access or whoever it is for this year's?
Oh, yeah, we have that.
You do have that?
We have that. We just don't have the original. What Greg's talking about is the original when we first started going there contract.
Okay, so, but
Because
we do
that
have a
was-
record of the payments of
Oh,
how
yeah,
much we made.
we have the records of
every
payments
month.
and the
Okay.
invoices and all
All
that.
right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Well, Jim's still not here, and he's the one with the form to talk about the executive session. Keith and I had some discussions, and I think we want to talk a little bit about, in preparations of the budget, you know, we have differing opinions, but talking about how do we handle this based upon the current situation with respect to the consumer price index and the inflation on certain items, that some department heads are paying a dramatic increase in costs related to, and the increase in costs that we're going to have in gas. This mainly affects, I think, years 23 through 26 right now, because it's going to impact that. If costs go up in 2022, it's going to have a negative impact on 2023, 4, 5, and 6, depending on how much money was appropriated in 2022 for those items, which, of course, have gone up in cost. So my opinion is, I think that we go through this year and determine what those impacts would be, because we already have a budget in place. We should be able to kind of understand the impact on certain line items, and then try to figure out how much do we want to add to the budget in the future years, or reimburse for 2022 and modify 2023 going forward based upon that information, knowing that we don't know if inflation will continue for each and every year at the same rate. But we do know that historically, the consumer price index for years have averaged around 2%, with fluctuations under and above that. But we're in unique times now, and we have a war going on in this world, so inflation is definitely modified, and there's a lot of money out there from all the money that the federal government gave everybody. So there is a lot more inflation, because people can charge more for the same items than they are. And of course, with all the supply chain issues, as they call it, there's less of them. So this is a simple economics class, you know, demand exceeds supply. So I think we have to think about that. Keith, you want to add your side?
Yeah, I thank you for that introduction. The new budget software that we're using, this does not apply to the payroll line, so everybody understands that. Those are going to be budgeted based on the assumptions that we're already using. It applies to the rest of the blocks. When you think about when we go through the budgets, the first two blocks are the payroll itself, and then the payroll-related items like workers' comp. It's the rest of the blocks below that with the exclusion of, obviously, of like debt service, which we actually just budget the exact dollar amount, we know what it is. Those blocks, the system is going to put in an automatic inflation factor, and what I need is to know from council what that should be. And so I guess the biggest thing for me is I would like, and department heads will have the authority to adjust up or down from there, but the default is going to be a number. And I guess I would like a number from you so that when we, because I don't want to have all these department heads do 50 different numbers, or all the department heads ask for 10 and then you guys say, no, you can only have 2, or ask for 2 and then you guys say, no, you should be asking for more. I'd like to just set a number so the baseline is fixed. Okay, we're going to use X, whatever X is. That's the first thing. As far as what it should be, a lot of departments haven't budgeted any inflation in these blocks at all. If you look at the budgets over the years, a lot of the departments, it's just the same budget for the whole time. The thing is, when you're at the inflation that we've had for the last really couple of decades, where it's 1 or 2% a year, inflation's not really something that's on your radar because it's so nominal that it hardly even matters. But right now, we're looking at 7-8%. And then you go out 5 years, because we're doing a 5-year budget, and you compound that 7 or 8%. Now, I don't know that it'll stay there, but you're getting to be a very large number, and people have budgeted 0 or 2 are going to find themselves short by a third or more by the time we get 5 years out. So I'm thinking that number for 2027 should be in the neighborhood of like 10% to cover for the fact that we got to make up for, I mean, even if we go to 4 and everybody budgeted for 2, you still need 10 just to make up for the difference by the time you get out 5 years. And my thinking, and John and I discussed this before, is look, if the inflation doesn't keep up at this pace, if it falls back to 2, then okay, when we do the 2028 budgets, we can set it at 0 because we know that we were over for 2027. I just don't want to get too far behind, because if we get farther and farther behind the 8 ball, then when we have this discussion a year from now, if inflation is still running 8% and we only do 2 or 3 this year, then when we have this discussion a year from now, we're going to be saying, okay, now for 2028, we need to do like 30. You understand what I mean? And I don't want to get that far behind.
Well, one of my concerns is that we do the 5-year plan now, and most departments and certain line items keep the numbers the same every year, and I don't want those to change. So what Keith is mentioning is like he'd have an automatic inflation rate that will change those numbers that we've already approved for 2020.
No. So let me correct that. The 22 through 26 budgets are going to be whatever the baseline. It's going to be whatever you approved last year. Now, the department heads, of course, can always come in and say, hey, I need additional money because this, that, or the next thing, or whatever. But what the system is going to generate is going to be payroll based on who's being paid, and then 23 through 26 is going to be whatever you approved last year. So what we're discussing here doesn't affect that at all. 23 through 26 will be whatever they were. Then it's only 27 that we're talking about here, which will be a percentage over 26. And that percentage can be whatever, it could be 0, or we just stay with whatever 26 was. It can be 10, it can be 2, whatever, but that percentage will only apply to 27.
And I guess the question is what I mentioned earlier, is that when we look at 2022 and see what the impact of inflation it has on that, we as a council could go back and look at and say, you know, we understand the impact that the inflation has had, and we can make a modification. I'd rather always give more money if it's needed rather than give the money and try to take it away. I don't think that's fair, and we tried that once already.
Did you?
So,
Yeah, but you promised.
it didn't go so.
How'd that work out, John?
I would be of the mindset of let's look at it, and if there's an adverse impact, which is going to be on certain accounts, I can guarantee it because of the cost of the products have modified and changed so much, that we may have to give some money in certain areas. But Keith's right, in 2027, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it should be a simple number like that, or can the department heads, because every department is different, look at it and make a determination, you know, based upon how 2022 is going, what they believe, because that's 5 years away, and I can't imagine, and I understand there's compounding, but I can't imagine we'll be stuck in inflation of 5+% for multiple years. If so, again, as we mentioned, I'm glad to be a landlord, but if that's the case, I mean, that's going all over the country, and that's going to be a big problem. I mean, so there's other things that are going to happen, because that would really have a dramatic impact on a lot of these cities who can't even afford what they're doing now. And luckily we can.
And to that point, our income tax has been cooking right along. I mean, which is the other side of the inflation is we're seeing it on the revenue side. So it's not like if we come in and say, hey, in 2027, we're going to need some additional money. I mean, the way income tax is going right now, we have it.
Right, but I guess my point is, should we leave it to the department heads to fill in those blanks like they've always had? Or do we need to have a set increase of all the expenses in those other bottom two columns of an increase? Or
John, I
what does
think
council
you should
think?
leave it to the department heads.
Okay, but what about council? What do you guys think?
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, Keith, believe it or not. But it is going to affect every department, like John said, but it's not going to have as much a dramatic effect as the inflation part as a few departments, police, fire, sanitation, especially because of the fuel economy and the purchasing power of whatever they're going to have to purchase. So I kind of agree with John that if we can, and this may go on for 5 years or more, it may resolve itself by the end of this year. So I think for the department heads, for me anyhow, if I was the department head, it would make more sense to actually wait the next 4 or 5 months to where they're going to actually presenting the budgets, figuring out their budgets to see what the impact of this 8% inflation rate is, and then they'll be able to more predict to go out to 2027. And if we have to, increase that or decrease it, then I think we'd have a better handle on it. But I do understand what your concerns are, which should be all our concerns, but I don't agree with.
Jess?
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I always feel in issues like this that it should be put on the department heads. They know their needs, they know the trend, they know what things they anticipate going up, what things they anticipate probably not going down. So I would be in favor of leaving it to the department heads to plug in the figures as they see necessary.
Anybody else?
Mr. President?
Paul?
I agree with both Denny and Jess. Looking down the road, we really don't know what's going on, but maybe this budget cycle, we give them the 8% or whatever it is increase so that we don't lose track, because as soon as we lose ground, it's going to be real hard to make it up.
Wait,
That's
I
why
don't, I don't think they said that.
I didn't say that.
No,
They didn't say give them any.
no, but leaving it up to the
Yes.
department heads
Yes.
to be allowed to do that if they deem necessary.
Yes.
Is how I meant that,
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
Okay?
I was
right.
like, hold on, Paul.
Okay, all right,
I
so,
guess there seems to be some confusion here. The budgets are the responsibility of the department heads, and that's not going to change regardless. This is going to be a default number. So the way this budget process is going to work, I'm going to give the department head a default, which is 23 through 26 are no change from what was approved last year, and 27 is increased by whatever percentage you say. It's always up to the department heads to come back and say, hey, this is nowhere near enough. I've got inflation pressure all over the place. I need a lot more than that. Or to say, hey, this is really more than I need. In my department, we're not seeing that much inflation. That's always up to the department heads. This is just the default that the department head's going to get, is going to say, okay, your budget is X, and then you decide. The department head always has the authority to ask for more or ask for less. That's not on the table. The question is what the
But I
default
thought
is.
usually what the default would be, what you're saying then for 2023 and 2026 is zero, because they come up with whatever they want. I guess what I hear with Jess and Denny saying, well, keep it at zero and have them come up with what they want. If they want 8%, they would put 8% in there because it's their new budget for 2027. If, for example, Nino says, well, geez, the gas is killing me, the cost of materials, aggregate and all this is all different than it was, I'm going to need like 15%, then he could do that and come to us and try to justify it. And we could probably argue with him. But I think that's what I hear them saying. Am I missing something? Correct. Yes, Jess?
Yes, that is what I'm saying, but in the interest of, figuring out the best solution, if I may ask some of the department heads that are here, what are your thoughts? Anyone?
No.
No one wants to be the one to say it?
I know for law department, we don't have much other than personnel expense, so I'm not anticipating that changing too much. I think probably Pat and Nina would be the ones most affected.
I
and
put you right on the
probably-
spot there.
Probably to some extent Jansen too, because of the
Uh-oh.
work he's doing in the parks and whatnot.
We are, if I may, fuel, everyone is aware, is outrageous. The steel products, I talked a little bit with John and amongst ourselves with Keith, that the PVC, when it's available, and it's like 6-8 times the cost as it was, and equipment, I mean, the list goes on and on.
But would you rather have that default number in there, or would you prefer to come to council and say, hey, this, gas is costing so much, I need this much money, and you and John do your little dance, and then, which is preferable?
Well, I guess with the budget process, it sounds like the way the budget's going to be populated, right, with respect to the formulas, a number has to be in there, because we're using a digitized form this year coming from finance, so I guess I'll let the other
Well, I think
department.
you guys come up with a number. You tell Keith what that number is. It'll be populated with probably the same number as the previous year when it comes to you, and then you'll look at it and say, oh, geez, that's way too, not enough. I got to increase that by, maybe it's not every account. Maybe some accounts are, maybe double. Maybe some accounts are the same. It all depends on what you particularly purchase in that line item on an ongoing basis that's affected by the inflation number. That make sense?
Yeah, but we still don't have an answer.
Well, I think Keith's concern is the program that he's using for 2027. He needs a number to populate that figure. Am I correct, Keith?
Right, there's going to be, like I said, I mean, you can say,
I say it's the same number as 26 and have the departments modified.
pardon me, you can say, okay, it's 0 and that's the default, but I think you're just asking the department heads to do a whole lot more work that way because nobody's going to be at 0. And so, I mean, to me, the default number should be something that's acceptable to council, basically, and that's a reasonable guess of what we think it's going to need to be. And because that way, for a lot of departments, they won't have to change anything. They can just look at that and say, yep, this is fine with me, and it'll come to you, and we'll go from there.
But I would disagree with the one point. Not every line item is going to be the same percentage.
No, they're certainly not. And the system is actually set up that we can do, I think, up to 3 different percentages.
Well, I
So
mean,
if-
you wouldn't know, I wouldn't know. The only people who would know would be the various department heads because everybody's going to be different.
No, but we would know, say, for example, with fuel, we have a line for oil and gas. And if you said, okay, the oil and gas line, we're looking at fuel that, with this thing in Ukraine, they're talking about fuel going over $4. We think the fuel line should be 100%. We could do that if you wanted to, and then everything else should be 2, whatever. But there's going to be a default number. If you say no increase, okay, that's a default of 0. There's still a default number. It's just a question of what it is. And then, like I said, the department heads always have the authority. And I guess, we talked about it at the staff meeting. I asked a couple department heads, asked Jansen too. I mean, they're seeing landscape equipment, fertilizer, what'd you say, it was like 40%? Nino gave the example on the resins and stuff. So, I mean, I'm
But that's an
seeing this and
impact
I'm
in
hearing it from
2022. It's not an impact in 2027, Bill.
Thank you. Are we actually taking action on this tonight, or are we just, is this just a wide?
I guess we can come back again and give Keith guidance, but we have to have the discussion so we know kind of what the issues are and you can make a determination.
Right.
So, I
Do we
mean,
have that? Have we had it? Are we
do
clear?
you feel we had the discussion?
I am pretty clear that we had the discussion, yes.
Well, I mean, everybody think about it. In the next finance meeting, we can make a determination. Jansen?
The only thing I wanted to note, personally, I would prefer a default percent right now because it's too hard to predict things that I don't know are increased, especially by the time this budget cycle comes up. I'd like to have at least 1 year of the historic expenses. So I've been through everything. I know what the expenses are going to be, and I can more accurately predict it in the out years. That makes sense?
That's helpful.
And I have
Thank
no
you.
idea what you said because you said you want a default number, but you want to be able to look at history for this year, which means that you can't get a default number for this year for 27 until you look at the history. So I'm confused.
The way I was understanding is that you were trying to pick a percent
For 2027.
for 2027 right now.
Which I don't think you can. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is in order for, if I'm going to be challenged to predict what I'm going to see increase without being through, we haven't ordered fertilizer yet for this year. We haven't ordered pool chemicals yet. There's a lot of unknown by the time, we're going to start doing rec center budget here in a month.
Well, the budget, it's going to be more money, 2022 and 2020, guaranteed. But we don't know, it might go back down, right? You don't know. And that's the beauty. I mean, we're talking about 5 years away, and we're having discussions that no city in Ohio probably has. We're talking about 2027, about what the expenses are going to be, so we could be prepared for it. So I think if we, come back and give our thoughts, and then we can give Keith some guidance. So, I mean, does everybody have enough information? And you could ask questions of departments and Keith over the next 2 weeks if you want to get more information. That would probably be the best, because every council member is going to have something different. Right? You guys good with that?
I just think
Okay.
this budget process is going to be more trying than in the years in the past because of the inflation rate. But I also think that by the time, maybe rec centers is going to be pretty quick, but by the time we get to each department's budget, they are going to have a better handle of at least what the current inflation rate has affected their budget. So we're going to not only have to worry about 2027, we're probably going to have to modify through 2026.
Yeah, as it goes on, there's going to be some, there's no doubt. All right, Paul?
Yeah, just real quick, Keith, when you said that there are like 3 different default numbers you can give, is it like, say, the page and line number for fuel and gas, another one for office supplies?
Since we haven't actually used it, I'm not exactly sure. I talked with them about it. I know that, I'm pretty sure it was 3 different ones, and then you just key
Okay, could you
it to
get that
which
detail
line
and let
items.
us-
I'll get that detail.
Okay, because that'll help us decide, what type of number we might want to put in there.
I'm pretty sure you could go by line item and say, okay, these line, because there's a default and then there's 2 others, is my understanding of it, and the 2 others, you tell it specific line numbers. So for fuel, if we decided fuel's way up, we want to go, 40% with fuel, we could go fuel 40%, that would apply to that line. But then a department like Greg's, they don't have fuel, so that wouldn't impact him at all, and everything would be under the
Right.
the
And
normal
if they can
default.
do that, that'll help us, I think. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else to come before?
Yeah,
oh.
I do have a comment. With my past experience with suppliers, we have gotten indication from suppliers when they knew that their prices were going to be going up. So they were always giving us a heads up, this is what we're experiencing, we're going to have to increase our price to you. Have you guys been getting those indications from your suppliers so far?
We get those weekly, and they
So-
change
Okay.
Yes.
So you are getting some indication
Absolutely.
of what the increases are?
for the ones that do respond, but
All right.
some are unannounced.
So you're not going into any of this stuff blind, as you shouldn't be?
Correct.
And I definitely understand Keith's side of it, because this could be a nightmare for you department heads trying to go through and itemize everything and put an increase on the lines, and the ease of use by putting in a set percentage. But I also agree with the other members of the council that I think nobody knows your budget better than the department heads. So you certainly should have the say as to what your numbers, or what you think your numbers are going to be going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? I don't think there's anything else to come before.
I do. I
Bill?
do.
Oh, Bill?
Right.
Yes.
Thanks. On a totally different subject, I've talked to Patrick and Nina, we've talked about the fiber optic cable issues that have occurred in neighborhoods, and I have multiple concerns from residents everywhere that they have put the cable in. And the concerns fall into these kind of 2 categories. One is now, will they be cleaning up, since the snow's gone, like all the detritus that's been left behind, zip ties, pieces of wire, pieces of pipe that are laying in people's yards and tree lawns, as well as will they fill in the holes that are in multiple tree lawns that have been maybe filled in, but when they were filled in, they filled up with water and they shrunk down. And secondly, including that most of the people that have contacted me believe it is a city project. But the second concern is that, and their own words have been, that they will never come back in the spring and restore the tree lawns where they have worked to what they were prior to the work. And I think that they need assurance that, number one, the tree lawns will be cleaned up now, and secondly, that when spring comes, it's not simply going to be throw some seed on ruts from tires and holes that exist in the ground from this work, including that actually in John, in your area, I guess up in that area in particular, where the sidewalks are covered with mud. So you really can't. A lot of the sidewalks where this work is taking place, you can't really go out and walk in unless you want to walk in mud. So I think that they're all looking for that kind of assurance that the current thing will be cleaned up, and I'm not sure who's really responsible for taking care of that. And then secondly, will these really going to come back in the spring and do a professional job of restoring the tree lawns?
I'll take that. Yeah, they are responsible. It is my department that oversees that. We issue the right-of-way permit. It'd be up to us to make sure that they do that. They are required to.
And if they don't, you have a bond, don't you?
Correct, yeah.
So we could do it
Yeah.
and use their money to pay for it.
And so what about the first part, though? Who's going to clean up the thing? Who cleans up what's there now?
That would be up to them. I guess I wasn't aware about that. We hadn't received any of those complaints. Most of the complaints we get are about condition of the tree lawn in terms of landscaping. Okay.
So if I may, that first part, the mayor brought up to us as well as he was driving around, saw chunks of, I guess it would be conduit and pieces and parts. And with the snow melting, thankfully, it's more evident, the remnants of their work that they did in winter. So we had a situation last week where we had a water break, and our guys working the water break noticed 2 holes that were deep by the sidewalk, left unprotected. So we went back and forth. This is 8 o'clock at night, right? So we ended up calling the gentleman who Pat and I correspond with mostly, who's in charge of this project. And we told him, he called the crew that was out there, and they were supposed to come out, and we had told them from our behalf, if they weren't out by the time our guys cleared the water break, we were going to plywood those holes and charge them accordingly for the time on overtime and the equipment to do that. They did actually come out that night, and then we had a conversation with respect to the remnants, the pieces, parts, chunks they're supposed to be cleaning up. So they're on notice for that. And as of recent, Pat and I talked about bringing them in, Armstrong and the representative from Lake Communities, and clearing these things up and making sure that everybody's clear with respect to their responsibilities for what you're bringing up. So the answer is yes, they will, one way or another, clean up these properties.
It's a lot, though. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, the holes.
Everywhere they work.
The holes are in almost every place that they have worked. The sunken down holes. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks that aren't going to raise the concern because they're just not probably going to bring it up. But the number of people that have brought it up is a lot. So I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, but the oversight. It seems to me that our role in the oversight shouldn't be such a big role, just simply in order to get a company to do what they would be responsible to do. It seems out of proportion to what you would expect from a professional company, I guess, doing this kind of work. I've really never seen a mess like I've seen now.
Well, I think I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think a part of it was the weather related. When it got so cold and it was difficult to work with the dirt and do some of those things. Now that the weather's broken, I mean, there's no reason, in my opinion, and Nino and Patrick will talk to them when we have the sit down here, of this is not probably the best time to seed, but there's no reason you can't take shovels or buckets full of dirt and make it safe, instead of these sinkholes and coming back once and trying to do everything. So we'll continue to keep the pressure on them. It was after our first meeting, they started putting the sticks with the caution tape around them, putting plywood, everything else, because before they were just abandoning them and leaving them until they came back 2 or 3 days later, which was a safety issue. So each time we've addressed these with them, they've been more responsive, and it is going to be a mammoth undertaking, but again, it's their responsibility. And if the city has to do it, we will do it, and then we'll take it from their bond. or not refund the bond.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. And so it's important, I think, that people understand that the city we're working to try to fix these things and get them to do the work properly. Secondly, though, it is not a city project. This is not the city, doing this and just not paying attention to what's going on. I think that's important for residents to know.
One other thing, I know the residents are a little frustrated because there's two companies. So one is Medina Fiber through Lit Communities had a group come through, and then 2-3 weeks later, Armstrong follows and starts tearing things up again. Yeah. So to them, why didn't you just do it all at once? But the fact that it's the tree lawn, it's a utility, and they have a right to do what they're doing, and you have two separate companies filing for permits and doing it in different areas at different times. I know it's an inconvenience, but yet the city can't say you both have to be on the same street at the same time, so it's all done once, because before you know it, they're in each other's way, and their equipment is blocking the other one's equipment. It's just not as simple as it sounds. And I know it's frustrating. We've seen it across the city. In fact, I had a driveway blocked with the auger. The person couldn't even get out of their own driveway. We had to track them down to get the thing out of the driveway and explain to them again, you are not to be on private property like that. Absolutely.
Well, the only other thing I would mention is just make sure they don't park on both sides of the road in the same stretch of road. Because that has happened a couple of times where I got caught where two cars were on both sides of the road, and so there was no lane to get through, and there's a traffic jam. So.
Pat, I had a question. There's two companies, Armstrong and the other fiber company. How much money in bond do we have in reserve for these two companies?
I don't know that. Their bond is when they register to work in the city, so I'd have to look that up. Yeah, there's not a bond for each individual permit. Our ordinance doesn't require it, but they put up a bond when they register.
Okay, anything else for council? Okay, Mr. Shields.
Okay, I'll make a motion at 7:07 PM to go into executive session to consider the purchase of property for a public purpose. If premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose private or personal interest is adverse to the public interest, to include the mayor, the law director,
And Patrick.
and Pat Pettit.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Lamb,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Hare, Hazeltine.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
We'll be recessing in executive session to discuss land acquisition, reconvening into finance, taking no action of any item discussed in executive session, adjourning from finance and moving on to council. We are in recess.